One of the hardest things about landing a global remote job is figuring out how to stay on the right side of the law, especially when it comes to taxes, employment classification, and all that fun stuff. It's a minefield out there. And that's why I asked remote law guru Nadia Harris to share her best tips with the out-of-office community. And just check out all these cool places she's been. This is Out of Office, episode 74. Well, I'm so glad to be face-to-face with you. I'm really happy that you agreed to come on the show. What's your origin story?
Oh, goodness. My story is a bit turbulent, and I would say, I don't know if interesting. I am a third culture kid. I lived in different countries. I was raised within different cultures as well. I moved to the US in 2015, and I got my first remote job at that time, which was in California. I lived in Connecticut. And then I really started making money on it. And I thought, that is crazy. Like, what's even remote? How does it function? Isn't it a scam? And it turned out it wasn't. And I started working with individuals and companies and organizations all around the world. And I thought, like, wow, I can be in any location. Then I went into talent acquisition. And then throughout time, then I founded my own brand.
And so that would be remote work advocate.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
What does it mean to be a remote work advocate?
People deserve fair chance to work for a great company, no matter where they come from or live, right? Because the digital era makes it possible. And so I work with companies to make this happen, to hire people remotely. I don't mean just like talent acquisition. I actually mean all legal solutions to be able to do this, right? Like, what are the regulations in different countries? I'm also a remote work lawyer. In addition to that, how you use employers of record, how you hire freelancers, contractors, it's different in every country. How do you make it happen in a compliant way? Equally, what do individuals need to know? I publish a lot of content so that people, both individuals and companies, can also broaden their horizons and benefit from everything that I share there. So I have online courses, I educate a lot as well. And my goal is to share everything that I know to make the world of work a better place.
I mean, I'm all about that. I'm really interested to hear more about your perspective as a remote work lawyer. Global law is complicated, right? It's messy in every field. What are the worst things that you've seen happen in the field of remote work law?
Oh, of course. So there are too many. There are companies that have a regular employment contract and randomly sign this contract with people in other countries who have no work permit in their local country. They treat them as freelancers, sometimes even trying to contribute to local payroll, which is a complete no-go. And then what happens is the huge topic that everyone's afraid of, which is employment misclassification. And this creates so many issues at the end of the day, like PTO, for example. PTO is something that only employees get by law. Freelancers don't. If you offer PTO, especially also in a contract to a freelancer, that means there's a high probability this person will be misclassified. This person will be literally classified as an employee in that country, meaning you have to pay back all the contributions, both parties actually, so it's both the individual and the company, plus also penalties. And the story gets even more dramatic, so let's not scare anyone here, but definitely don't do that. Another thing is sometimes people complain that they don't get paid. This company was a scam, they never paid me, but they hired me, which is not true. You didn't set yourself up properly, so they cannot pay you, because in your country, like for example in the US, pretty much anyone can be an independent contractor. You just have a 1099 form, you have your social security, it's all good. But in some countries, you need to set up your own business, you see, and people don't know that. They sign something and then it turns out they can't be paid because nothing is set up. There is this lack of understanding, and it really, really happens a lot.
What happens when companies get this wrong? Like, what are the consequences?
I would say once in a while, in almost every country, every company is audited for whatever reason, in terms of distinguishing employment from a different type of contract. Some countries are more strict, other countries are less strict. If it's approached in a very strict manner and a company is randomly audited, what's going to happen? The auditors, they come and they say, okay, so now show me all your contracts. Show me how you treat all the individuals. Let us talk to them to confirm what the relationship really looks like. And then when the individuals don't understand what's really happening and they're like, oh, of course we have performance reviews, so we just got a bonus. They got you, right? And that happens a lot. It makes your employer liable, but it does cause issues for both parties. So let's imagine somebody worked based on a freelance contract for 4 or 5 years. Then imagine all the social contributions, all the employer's costs, employees' costs you have to pay back plus penalties. That's very scary the longer you've been working this way.
So when there's a misclassification, the liability could go in either direction. There are situations where the company would be liable and other situations where the individual would be liable.
Both are liable.
So
Usually both are liable. Yes, both are liable. So I would say everybody has to be very careful. Many companies are very scared and they say, okay, we will just not hire anyone anywhere outside of our country because we are scared of employment misclassification. This is not a good solution, because it doesn't solve the big problem. You should know how to set up this relationship properly, right?
Being afraid to such an extent that you stop innovating is hardly a solution. A lot of companies are choosing to hire their global remote team members as independent contractors, which you've touched on a little bit. So they are not employees, they're contractors. What's your take on that? Is that a viable model?
I would say it is a very good model, but it requires a lot of mutual understanding, right? So the individual has to understand that they are actually independent, right? They're not considered an employee. It requires a lot of deep research up front to know, for example, what the taxes are going to be. And based on that, you also have to be able to negotiate your pay, right? If they are an independent contractor, they actually, in many countries, take over the employer's costs and also the employee's costs. So they have to know exactly the breakdown of all these costs to be able to understand how much do I want to stay in my pocket. So find a tax advisor, find an accountant up front who's going to tell you how much you will have to pay and how much stays in your pocket.
Yeah, that actually caught me out when I first became an independent contractor. I'm a dual citizen. I'm a citizen of New Zealand and of the US. And there's a treaty between the two countries to prevent double taxation. And I didn't know there were loopholes in the treaty related to independent contracting. But I got some bad accounting advice and ended up being double taxed on almost my whole income. And by the time I realized I was about 15 months in. And so it was too late to rewind the clock and start a company and do some simple things that I could have done at the start.
The worst thing is that when you call the authorities and they also don't know, so they will tell you things. I remember how many times I called and I was informed, you pay where you make the money. I'm like, no. So this is something that you can literally keep hitting the wall back and forth.
I think there's a certain kind of person who's equipped for it, who's willing to put in the work for that reward. And then there are some people who aren't really prepared for the reality, and that's okay. No one's trying to force you to work in a global remote job if it doesn't suit you. I remember literally making a spreadsheet when I was applying for my first independent contracting role, and we've got currency conversion, what was the lowest exchange rate in the last 5 years, what about my health insurance, I won't have a subsidy there, superannuation, that'll be on me, my accountants, and essentially paying myself for annual leave and public holidays and all that stuff.
Basically covering your own PTO, so to say, right? If you invoice per day or per hour, how much would you have to invoice to make sure that when you calculate everything all together within a year, it still covers the days where you weren't working, right?
Gotta do that math.
Absolutely.
There's no way around it. Let's say you wave a magic wand and you can fix a bunch of global laws. What would you change in order to make a lot of this easier, both for companies and for individuals?
I'm actually working on a secret project like this with some authorities already. I can't mention a lot, but I have been thinking about this. My question is why? Why would you have to actually relocate to that country and live in that country in order to be eligible to work there? We could kind of start embracing the concept of work being digital, right? We also have Some countries have digital residencies already, right? This is for entrepreneurs, of course, but it already exists. And so couldn't we have digital residencies in some countries instead of physical residencies? And that would, in that case, broaden the talent pool, give more people the opportunity to work for all these companies. When we look at the way the world is polarized today, it personally hurts me because there are so many amazing and talented people that deserve the opportunity. It's not their fault that they were not born in a rich family. They couldn't go to an Ivy League university and simply live, I don't know, in Silicon Valley. Are they worse? No, they're not worse. They just happen to live elsewhere. So
I want to get up from my chair and scream because I relate so hard to everything you're saying. That principle of great people come from everywhere. I mean, I've traveled all over the world as you have and met with remote workers and found such extraordinary talent in every corner of the globe.
Why are we even talking about employment misclassification if they could actually, based on this digital visa, hire people as employees and everyone would be happy? And it would broaden the talent pool. What's the issue?
Hear, hear. Hear, hear. I want to go to the church of Nadia Harris.
Oh my goodness, that would be crazy.
Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. For anyone watching this, if you want to follow Nadia, you can go to remoteworkadvocate.com and you'll also find a link there to her course, How to Find Your Remote Dream Jobs.
Thank you. It's been a great pleasure.
Thanks so much, Nadia. Take care.